Welcome students. Today we are going to see on the topic XHTML Basics. What is XHTML? XHTML is a language used to create and organize a web page. XHTML is newer than but built upon the original HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. XHTML has stricter rules and does not allow some elements formerly used in HTML. One benefit of using XHTML instead of HTML is that it makes web pages look identical in different browsers such as Internet Explorer, Firefox, or Chrome or Safari. XHTML defines and organizes the page content but does not format or style it. This is the job of CSS, and CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. Now let's look at the history of HTML. HTML was first published in the year 1991. Later, in the year of 1995, HTML version 2.0 was released. Later, in the year 1997, HTML 3.2 was released. After HTML 4.1 was released in the year 1999, focus shifted to XHTML and its stricter standards. XHTML 1.0 was released finally in the year 2000. Later, XHTML 2.0 was released, which had even stricter standards than 1.0. But it fell out of favor gradually and was abandoned completely in the year 2009. HTML5, which has powerful new features for creating web pages, is still under progress and will eventually replace XHTML as a standard platform for building websites. What is a web page? Web pages are plain text documents saved with .html file extensions. These files can be opened in two ways. If we open them using a text editor such as a notepad, we see the HTML code. If we open them with the web browser, we see the contents of the website. Now, how do we create a web document? To create a new web document, we can type it directly into the text editor and then save it with a .html extension. But make sure you never use Microsoft Word or other word processing applications to create or edit web documents. These programs add extra characters to the file which can interfere with the web page displaying correctly. In the slide, I'm going to demonstrate the HTML document with the yellow code in Windows. This document contains all the essential components of a functional web page. It can be copied and then modified to begin building a new web page. From now on, we will refer to this template as the skeleton file. The doc type declaration must be specified on the first line of each web document. The doc type tells the web browser which version of the HTML in the page is written in. In this class, we will be using XHTML transitional, which allows us a little flexibility. Another possibility is to use XHTML strict doc type. It is less flexible and does not permit the use of some older HTML components. The HTML element tag. Immediately following the doc type declaration is the HTML element. The HTML element tells the browser that the page will be formatted in the HTML and optionally which world language the page content is in. If our page were in a language other than English EN, we would change the two-letter code to the appropriate language code. Don't worry about how complicated the doc type and HTML lines appear. We won't ever have to type them in. We will build a new web page using the skeleton file. these lines will already be there. The head and the body elements. The head element surrounds all the special behind the scenes elements of the web document. Most of these elements do not get displayed directly on the web page. The body element surrounds all the actual content, the text, the images, videos, links, etc. that will be displayed on our web page. Just as with a person, the head always belongs on the top of the body. The meta element. The meta element provides the information about the document to the browsers and search engines. This line declares that the document is encoded in UTF-8 Unicode character set. The UTF-8 character set is the dominant choice for documents on the internet. We will use it for all our web pages. There can be multiple meta lines in the same web page. The meta element is often used to provide additional information such as page, keywords, page description, and authors of a web document. The title element. The title element is always placed within the head section of the document. Each page of your website should have a unique title. Every web document must include one and only one instance of doc type, HTML, head, body, and title tags. All the elements must be in lowercase letters. The doc type declaration is not an element. Also, the lowercase rules apply only to the XHTML code within the open angle bracket and close angle bracket characters, not the actual content to be displayed on the web page. The XHTML attribute names must be in lowercase. Let's look at this example. For the anchor tag, we have the attribute name href in lower cases, and this is correct. But when we look at the second example, here we can see href typed in capital letters, and it is a wrong way to represent. Another rule is that XHTML attribute values must be quoted. In the first example, which is the correct way to represent, here we see the values of href within the double quotes. But in the second example, which is a wrong way, we see that we have not placed the value of href within the quotes, and this is a wrong way to represent. In XHTML, all the elements must have both opening tags, which is shown in green color, and the closing tag, which is shown in red color. The closing tags begin with a /. Now, the meta element is an unusual element, that is a self-closing element. The XHTML tags that surround the actual content of a page are collectively known as markup. Markup is not visible when the page is viewed in a browser. Nesting of elements is very important. When we write XHTML code, we must take care the elements are properly nested. Nesting means an element is completely contained within another element. In these lines of code, the meta and title elements are nested within the head element. Now let's look at a nesting error example. One of the most common errors committed by beginning web designers is to overlap HTML elements, resulting in a nesting error. In the above example, the head element was closed before the title element was closed. A nesting error like this can cause serious problems when the web page is displayed. We can also use validation tool that will hunt down and locate these types of mistakes for us prior to publishing a web page in a browser. Finally, let's look at the line breaks and spaces. Browsers ignore line breaks and spaces. We can take advantage of this fact by placing blank lines and indents in our code and make our code to organize and easy to read. We can standardize on by using 2 spaces on each level of indenting.